A night was electric. Inside the Forum in Inglewood, California, thousands of fans stood on their feet, chanting, screaming, and waiting for a fight that promised fireworks. Under the bright arena lights, two warriors prepared to go to war. On one side stood Gennady GGG Golovkin, the unbeaten wrecking machine from Kazakhstan. 32 wins, 29 knockouts, feared across the boxing world for his bone-crushing power. On the other side, Willie Monroe Jr., a slick, confident, and hungry challenger, a man stepping into the lion's den, determined to shock the world. As the opening bell rang, tension filled the air like a storm waiting to break. Golovkin came forward immediately, his trademark stalking style on full display, cutting off the ring, applying relentless pressure. Monroe tried to use his footwork, flicking quick jabs, moving laterally, but the Kazakh beast kept closing the distance. Every Golovkin punch sounded like thunder, short, compact, and deadly accurate. By the end of the first round, Monroe had already tasted Golovkin's power, and the crowd could sense danger. Round 2 began, and GGG turned up the heat. A stiff jab landed, followed by a thunderous right hand that shook Monroe to his core. Then it came, a brutal left hook upstairs. Monroe's legs buckled, and he went down hard. The arena erupted in chaos as Monroe beat the count, but Golovkin was merciless, charging forward with calculated destruction. The second knockdown came moments later. Monroe barely survived the round. Fans screamed, the commentators roared, and one thing became clear. Golovkin was hunting blood, and Monroe was standing on the edge of a nightmare. The third round began with the crowd still buzzing from the knockdowns, but Willie Monroe Jr. refused to fold. Bruised, battered, but unbroken, he dug deep into his fighting spirit. Monroe started to fire back, snapping Golovkin's head with crisp counter jabs, throwing fast combinations to the body and head. The audience, expecting a quick finish, suddenly realized Monroe wasn't here just to survive. He came to fight. Golovkin, calm and composed, kept marching forward, his icy expression never changing. Every step was calculated. Every punch thrown carried menace. Monroe danced on the outside, moving, feinting, landing flashy flurries, but Golovkin absorbed them like a machine, unshaken, unbothered. "Come on, hit me," Golovkin taunted at one point, dropping his hands, daring Monroe to engage. The challenger responded with his fastest combination yet, landing 3 clean shots, but Triple G just smiled, nodded, and answered with a crushing hook that echoed through the arena. By the end of round 3, Monroe had earned the crowd's respect. He wasn't backing down, wasn't afraid, and for a brief moment, it seemed like he might find a way back into the fight. Round 4 began, and Monroe carried that momentum, darting in and out, connecting with quick rights and sharp lefts. For the first time, Golovkin's forward march slowed slightly. The crowd roared as Monroe took center ring, showing heart, courage, and skill. But Golovkin wasn't frustrated. He was studying, measuring, calculating. Every second Monroe attacked, GGG gathered more data, looking for the perfect moment to close the show. And deep inside, everyone in the arena knew Monroe was surviving on borrowed time. Round 5 began, and you could feel the shift in energy. Golovkin returned to his corner between rounds, calm, focused, and dangerous. As the bell rang, he walked out like a predator, locking onto prey. Monroe's confidence had grown, but Golovkin was about to remind everyone why he was one of the most feared punchers in boxing. Golovkin opened the round with a double jab, snapping Monroe's head back, then unleashed a vicious right cross that stunned the challenger. Monroe tried to circle away, throwing counters, but GGG cut off the ring perfectly, forcing him into the ropes. The Kazakh power puncher went to the body, digging deep hooks into Monroe's ribs, sapping his energy, breaking his foundation. Monroe fired back, but his punches no longer carried the same snap. His legs were slowing, his breathing heavier, his eyes showing flashes of doubt. Golovkin, sensing weakness, began to pour it on. Sharp 1-2s, slicing uppercuts, relentless pressure. Midway through the round, Monroe landed a clean left hand, his best punch of the fight. But Golovkin walked straight through it and smiled, whispering something under his breath. "I love this." The crowd erupted as Golovkin's offense became a storm. His jab cracked like a whip. His right hand detonated like a bomb. Monroe, wobbling, clung to survival. But GGG trapped him in the corner and unleashed a 5-punch combination that shook the arena. Somehow, Monroe stayed on his feet, but the writing was on the wall. Golovkin had broken his spirit. As the bell rang, Monroe staggered back to his corner, bloodied, breathing hard, and staring into the distance. Golovkin, meanwhile, sat calmly, ready to end it. Everyone inside the arena knew the inevitable was coming. The executioner was sharpening his blade. Round 6. The moment of reckoning. The tension inside the forum reached its peak as the crowd sensed what was about to happen. Monroe, bruised but defiant, stood tall, determined to go out on his shield. Across the ring, Golovkin locked eyes with his prey, expressionless, cold, ready to deliver the final blow. The bell rang, and Triple G came forward like a tank, walking Monroe down, cutting the ring, giving him nowhere to escape. Golovkin's jab pierced through Monroe's guard like a spear, setting up the big shots. Then, out of nowhere, Triple G unleashed a monstrous right hand, followed by a savage left hook. Monroe staggered, his legs betraying him. Golovkin smelled blood and attacked with clinical precision. The crowd rose to their feet, roaring as Golovkin unleashed a barrage of hooks, uppercuts, and crosses, each punch thrown with surgical intent. Monroe tried to fire back, his hands flailing desperately, but GGG's shots were too heavy, too accurate, too relentless. Then it came, a devastating uppercut that snapped Monroe's head back violently. He stumbled, falling against the ropes, his body swaying, refusing to collapse but unable to recover. The referee watched closely, warning Monroe to show something, anything. But Golovkin wasn't letting him breathe. Another thunderous right hand landed flush, and the referee jumped in, waving it off. It was over. The arena erupted in chaos as fans screamed, commentators shouted, and Golovkin calmly raised his gloves to the sky. Willie Monroe Jr., courageous but outgunned, collapsed into his corner, beaten but respected. Gennady Golovkin had done it again. Another dominant victory, another brutal knockout, another warning to the middleweight division. GGG didn't just win, he destroyed Monroe, with patience, precision, and pure power. As the dust settled inside the forum, one thing became crystal clear. Gennady GGG Golovkin was a monster. He had extended his undefeated record to 33-0 with an astonishing 30 knockouts, a staggering 91% KO rate. Fans, analysts, and fighters across the world stood in awe of his power, his precision, and his ruthless efficiency. In the post-fight interview, Golovkin smiled humbly, saying, "Willie is a good fighter. He gave me a test, but this is my style." Big drama show. The crowd erupted chanting GGG, GGG, GGG as the Kazakh superstar soaked in the adoration. For Monroe, the night ended in defeat but not humiliation. He'd shown heart, courage, and flashes of brilliance, surviving longer than many expected, and even landing sharp combinations that tested Golovkin's chin. But against a machine like GGG, effort wasn't enough. Precision met power, and power won. This victory solidified Golovkin's status as the most feared middleweight in the world. Champions were watching. Contenders were nervous. Everyone knew the storm was coming, and no one was safe. GGG's dominance wasn't just about winning fights. It was about how he won them. He didn't outpoint opponents. He broke them, dismantled them, and left them questioning their careers. The boxing world left the forum buzzing that night, already debating who could possibly stand up to the Kazakh powerhouse. Some whispered names like Canelo Alvarez, Miguel Cotto, and Andy Lee. But one truth remained. On this night, Golovkin wasn't just a champion. He was an executioner. Willie Monroe Jr. fought bravely. He showed heart, skill, and toughness. But when you step into the ring with GGG, there's no running, no hiding, no escape. And on May 16th, 2015, the world witnessed the inevitable. Golovkin, total.